After a beautiful fall drive down the mountains, I have reached a place that I was recently told if I was going through northern Utah that I really ought to check this one out. So here I am. This is Country Village Antique Mall in Logan, Utah, the home of Utah State. It's a college town, a very pretty town, at a place that's really grown of late. So hopefully people moving in here have brought their old stuff with them, and we're going to find it in here. Well, they're big showy pieces, and they're half off this very pretty transitional monarch stove, somewhere between wood stove and the more modern stoves of the 1930s. You would see this enameled piece here. Also this giant floor scale. Well, right away we're seeing sales. I see 40% off and 50% off, so I'm going to spend a little time digging through and see if we can find anything that we can take to our shows and our collectors. Very cute little Scotty Child's cup here. They have the bowl here to go with it as well. The Shawnee St. Bernard planter, I always thought that was cute, from the 1940s, with his big bottle of grog. Operation Moon Probe. This is a 1960s era bagatelle with the space theme. With the discount, this one is going to be just under $30. Fenton's Mount Rushmore bell is one I haven't seen too often, and that one would be about $15 with the discount. That's kind of neat. Hand painted by D. Frederick, along with a lot of the more regular Fenton bells that we do see. The prices are kind of up there. I think I can buy this. This is an old piece of overshot glass, or coralline. That is definitely glass frit, and it is applied to the surfaces to make the fruit pop out. Cute little flower frog. And that with the discount is going to be under $15. I think I'll take that too. Let's see what else we have in here. Since I'm finding some things in this booth, we'll just keep looking. Cute little enameled trinket box. I like the rose-bill bookends, but they don't sell for big prices like they used to, so it's all going to depend on what the tag is. And let's see. Don't see it on that side. Here we go. Well, they've been marked down to $49, but they have a chip. Darn. This is very pretty too. More than I'm going to be able to pay, but a very nice portrait box, French, from probably 1920 approximately. Cool Pyrex mixing bowl set in a pattern we don't really see very often. And it's the charm shape, which I like. $90 on that set. It's not the teal color of the Blue Meek. Viking was the only one who made exactly that shade. Next to it is a Winfield pottery piece in the bamboo pattern. There's Winfield Gabriel, which is the earlier mark, and then there's Winfield Pasadena, or just Winfield, which was done later. They did very good quality dinnerware back in the 50s. Okay, moving into the next space here, another Shawnee piece. I do see a lot of Shawnee when I go to Utah. It seems like it was distributed here. The poor Muggsy with his little head wrap. And that one is priced at $73. This is an odd piece. Looks like some sort of a studio pottery. Mushrooms and 1983. Not a name I recognize. Certainly curious enough, though. $29. Here's one of the painted Camark pieces. Camark in Camden, Arkansas. You see their label. Only $11.95. That actually seems like a really reasonable price for that. Camark quit producing at a certain point, but then kept selling their things off for many, many years. So they technically were in business until 1968. Oh, the Comco Elves. We have the book reader for $8. The toy maker for $8. I don't see the murder elf. I always like this mottled plastic for these 1950s Plano tackle boxes. That one's priced at $34. Cute little Joseph Originals set here with the little felt hats. The ginseng pins.
Joseph Originals started in California, and these are early California pieces. In 1959, the Japanese competition became too much, so they moved their production over to Japan and trained them to do the exact same things.
This is a German modernist little vase for only $10. I had someone recently saying, people are missing out if they're just looking at glass because there's a lot of really fun mid-century pottery, and German in particular is just starting to really be appreciated. And I think that that person is right. Here's a Hager piece, and look how it's 3 times the price. $32 for the set of, looks like 9 of these are left. It was a pretty good deal because they've got that 70s gold and green, the barware that people are enjoying again now. I don't see a name like Culver or anything, but it's nice that they're stems. That's a little different. Dormeyer food fixer from the 1950s. Wow, $110. But they do have big families here in Utah, and so I suppose something like this gets used a lot. And I just noticed that it's 30% off. Look at this fun red velvet hanging lamp with the maroon crystals. This is right out of the 1970s, and it's $50, which in the right context in a mid-century store probably could be double that. This is a big old tin train by Wolverine. Wolverine was out of Pittsburgh, believe it or not. A lot of people assume Michigan, but actually Wolverine was a Pittsburgh company. This would have been something a kid could use without having a track or anything, and so it's just a single piece, and it's priced at $40 with the discount. Just has a neat look. Well, I have to say, the shelves are full, but it's a very organized and neatly kept mall so far. This is a fun Francoma modernist piece, but since modernism has come into style, a lot of the Francoma modernist pieces have run up in price, and that one's priced at $35. Whereas this nice matte glaze whole cornucopia is only $49. With the bow knot pattern, one of their more popular. Here you go, you have a set in the caddy with gold leaf and a set of the silver leaf Pilsner stems in the original box by Libby. Very big deal when they came out with these in the 1960s. Libby is still with us and is probably the biggest glassmaker in the United States. When I think of 1970s brass, I think of tables like these with a little bit of ornate sculpting and oval and round tops. These seem to be in pretty good shape overall, and let's see what the price is. Only $48.95 for the smaller one. I would probably take that with me if I had more room in the van. There are variations on this theme to put your dentures in to soak overnight. Grandpa and Grandma. Grandpa's Chopper Hopper. This one was by Chadwick of Japan. It's $12.50. I think they're kind of fun. Another 40% off booth. This is an interesting font here. Here's your top piece where you fill with the liquid and then it drops into here. And that actually looks like it has a fair bit of age. That might be very attractive on a wall somewhere. I don't see a lot of these airbrushed out of the 19-teens, but I see them on occasion, and they're generally fruit, and they have the Aubert signature. And those are a K and G mark. These were done in France, right about 1910. A couple of vintage Breyer horses. These tend to be fairly expensive around here because there is a horse culture, and I like the dumping one especially. Have you a little fairy in your home? Fairy soap. This was their originally circa 1910 tray, but if you look at the lettering here, you can tell this is a 1970s era repro by Chain. Chain was a big toy maker, and when the metal toys started to be taken off the market because of concern over safety with the metal tabs, they decided to go into other things, mainly kitchenware instead. With the discount, this one is going to be $15. There's Tickle Pink and Heavenly Blue, and that's just a reversal of this pattern with the blue being the prominent color. These are by Vernon Kilns, late 50s, and they actually continued to make them after they merged with Metlocks. They're asking $130 for this set. Very cute pattern. I'm going to venture into the back room here. The Hager Mother and Child, $25. These can sell for double that. I've got one in stock already, but I wish mine was black. This is reverse painted on glass, and this is an Italian scene. $18.95. a little bit of damage that they've repaired over the years. There's a bench for you. This would be a great day bed. This looks like right out of the 1970s. They have this priced at $425, but if you were doing a true mid-century interior, or you just needed a place to put a small child to sleep for a few hours each day, well, that'd be a great size. And it comes with all the original pillows. It's just immaculate. The flat top trunk here is $169. This is a nice size steamer trunk. It's actually not a steamer trunk though, it's an auto robe. This would have been made to put on the back of an early car. It's similar to a steamer trunk in that it's going to open and have different sections that we can reveal. It says it has the key, so it may not be able to be opened actually, because I'm sure they have that at the desk. But this would have strapped to the back of an early car as a trunk. That's why we call them a trunk now, because eventually they started building them in as part of the car when they realized that was something people wanted. And then here's a nice smaller flat trunk as well for $169. I always think of Tiffany at Thrifting Vegas when I see Anna Lee, because she bought a whole bunch of them when we were together. This is made in New Hampshire. That's important. Later ones are made in other places, and those are not as collectible by far. This one's priced at $20. Another Anna Lee here was Trick or Treat. Some vintage Pepsi glasses. This has a whole lot of toys in it, although a lot of them are a more recent vintage than what I sell. She found something. Nice tapestry stretched out in a frame from the 1920s. It was sitting right there on that wall. Below is a handsome secretary desk. So there are some antiques here that are true antiques over 100 years old. Chalkware dog is cute. Likely to date to the 1930s, only $25. This is really cool. This is by Turner as well. They did the flamingos and the egrets and all those other really cool birds. But this one is Billy Seay, who is a particular designer they had work for them. And you can see the Seay signature in the print. You don't see these nearly as often as the other pieces, and that's why it's priced at $170. Some vintage fashion here. This is a cute dress on the end. Very gauzy. There's fur because we are in the mountain states and they still wear and use fur in the mountain states because it gets cold here in the winter. Always like this pattern. This is Lennox Lido, and it's an all-over pattern that I think is just interesting looking. This salt and pepper shaker with the pepper mill, which is a nice feature, come from about 1970 and they're priced at $30. By the time you get to where Joseph Originals are part of Dakin, they've really left the collectible realm to me. These all have the brown eyes. The originals have the black. There's enough of them out there that honestly, if it were me as a collector, I'd wait to get the original issues. Billy Smith's been around for a long time. Long before they did swing bases, they did these cute little boudoir lamps. This pair here is priced at $129. They date to the 1930s and 40s. Do you know how much it costs to subscribe to this channel? It's nothing, it's free, and it's worth every penny and then some, because then you can click the bell to be notified and go with us on all our antique and vintage ventures all over the place. We invite you also to check out our Patreon and our memberships. If you are interested in contributing something to the channel, well, it always helps and we're very grateful, and there are different perks and bonuses depending on the level. So you can check that out by following the membership link under the dash line of the description of this or any of our videos.
Traveling to Logan from Wyoming I-80, the scenic route takes you through Kemmerer, Wyoming, and that is where the first Golden Rule store, which turned into JCPenney, is. This is the JCPenney mother store. That is a storied old department store chain, and they have had their ups and downs, but a lot of the cool things we collect now came from here, and this is where it all started.
I like these resin grapes because they've got the clear and yet a little bit of texture inside that you can see. That, of course, was to cover up where you attached them. And they're asking $50 for that set. These days, that's probably a fair price. Victorian bed here would go back to the days of Brigham Young. This is going to date to the mid-Victorian era. This is the kind of thing that you don't see a lot of in Utah, but there was some population here a long time ago. And also antique collectors who have come in have brought some of these pieces with them. Big selection of books here. A whole bunch based on Mormonism because we are in Utah. The life of Stephen Douglas, he was the one who debated Lincoln famously in the 1850s. History of Utah. That'd be a good local interest piece. Here we have a nice set with this, with the original holder for $69. That's not bad for having all the pieces. I do enjoy this particular McCoy vase. It's just so big and full and fluffy. Unfortunately, it's as is. Somebody wrote 1940 on the bottom, which is about right for when that was issued. Fostoria Colony. I always liked the swirl pattern. They even did it all the way up into the stem. Very, very good quality. Fire polished, good elegant glass. You'll see pieces fairly inexpensively. This is only $25. The problem with these center-handled trays is if you don't have it out on the table, they're not easy to store. And I think that's why they don't sell for more now. It's so funny to see Pyrex nesting bowls selling for more than Franciscan apple nesting bowls. These three are from the 1940s with the oven-safe label. That one's had a little bit of a rough life. But $70 for the three. There are some big lakes and rushing rivers in this area, and that's why you're seeing vintage fishing creels. These are definitely collectible. Some people still use them. This one has been refitted with a Velcro closure. But most people use them in display now. I see prices as low as $24. I definitely want to show you this. This is Carolina craft pottery. A lot of people mistake this for Francoma because of the type of clay and the way that the color shows through the bottom, but these were made in the Carolinas. This one has a turquoise glaze, and this should date to sometime around 1960 approximately, priced at $70. There are definitely collectors for those Carolina potters. Expo 74, it's the 50th anniversary. This would sell at the show in Spokane for that price, $27. Let's take a look at this fabric. It looks like it's got a big scene of Middle Eastern interest, and it looks like it's a big tapestry. At first I thought it was a coverlid. Now we're seeing the scene. This is going to date to the 1920s. There was a lot of interest in Middle Eastern things because of the discovery of King Tut's tomb and the rediscovery of that part of the world on the part of Westerners. It's $60 for the size. That's great. It's got some staining I see, though. Kulintang gongs. Set of 6. I can't say I've ever really run into these in an antique mall in the United States before. I like this old Motorola radio with the celluloid and the fabric. Very tweedy. Looks like something from about 1940. I don't see a price. There we go, $120. Good style, though. Yes, the Hess gas stations used to give these cars and trucks out. They're half off, so they're only about $11 a piece. This space has some fun pins. Advo is one I haven't seen before. Maxwell House here. Fresh as the day roasted. No coffee can be fresher unless you grind your own, but people didn't do that back when this was made. $25 is the pretty typical price for these. Hills Brothers out of San Francisco is certainly well known in this area. Another 40% off booth. There are a lot of sales here right now. Very vibrant green Westmoreland art dish here. With the discount of around $15. This is a very pretty Roseville piece, but it's not cheap. McCoy rustic vases there, next to the old woman in the shoe cookie jar. Below is royal lace. That was very popular when people were really into collecting Depression glass. It's still a good pattern if you see it. Way down here, and they're on sale, are two McCoy pieces. The Harmony line, I always like that spatter effect. With the discount, this one's only $11 or $12, and this one is $18. This is a neat American oak piece from about 1900. Look at the shape of the mirrors. I think that's the most interesting part by far. They, of course, swing from the side so that you can see yourself in 3D. Nice serpentine front as well. And the prices are pretty good, $350 on that. This is vintage flower vase, and I'm curious to see if we know anything about this. Oh, looks like it was homemade. I like the two-toning. Haviland Rosemead, boy. Such a deal, $300 for this whole set. It's beautiful, it's formal, it's Limoges. This is Theodore Haviland, actually, made in America. And the reason that we point that out is that this was a way to keep the Haviland name going during the Second World War when we couldn't get the finer pieces from France. So these are nice quality, and they are buyable in their own right. But when you pick them up, they're a little heavier than Limoges porcelain. Cornucopia have always been popular, and they've gone through various phases. This is the late 40s where they're starting to modernize them. This one's by Red Wing. Only $16 on that piece. Automatic needle threader. Ah, okay, so this is a sewing implement. $8 for the little box. I don't think the piece is in it because I'm shaking it and not hearing anything. Speaking of sewing items, this little pincushion is Japanese lusterware from the 1930s with the elephant. Happy Elephant with its trunk up, $14. Another floral vase. This one is Weilware. Max Weil started in Los Angeles in 1938. He was known for a lot of very pretty women. Planter figures. The donkey is his later mark. So this was probably done sometime during or just after the Second World War. And this one is priced at $28. Oh, it also has the paper label, which you'll see on occasion. Right there. This is an English deco piece. Notice the shape of the handle. The English deco seems to be just a little more exaggerated and sometimes a little more squat than some of our American pieces. This is the Harford pattern by the Arthur Wood Company. And behind it, we have a Silent Butler or crumb plate. Two-piece here with the bright work. When I see a lot of this bright cut silver plate from the 1890s, Rockford Silver Plate in Illinois oftentimes is the company that did it. $17 for the set seems pretty good. And you notice there it says quadruple. That's because in the 1890s they figured out to let the silver plate adhere for 4 times as long as they had originally, and that was the secret that kept it so that 120 years from now the silver plate is still on it. The earlier pieces that they made were too thin and the silver plate came off too easily. And there we have one of the last things Treasure Craft ever made. In fact, you'll see some of these with marks from offshore. But these say Treasure Craft Disney made in USA, and the 101 Dalmatians, I believe they came out with this about the time that the sequel came out in the early 1990s. They've got 39 on the pitcher and 49 on the cookie jar. These designs were done by Shi Chen, whose home I got to go to recently in Washington State. She fled China with virtually nothing and went to California and had experience designing ceramics. And they hired her by contract, and she did a lot of their work in the later years, including some of their very expensive limited edition jars and a lot of the Disney lines. Isomat is fun. They came in lots of different colors. Great way to crush ice. The important thing is that it has the mounting hardware on the back, so you can put it on the wall if you wanted to, although these are able to stand flat. $15 is a pretty good deal. That might go with me. Circus Peanuts, a fairly famous tin. Great with the stripes. Oh, look, our St. Bernard seems to have found a friend. You have to know that the tilted A makes that Shawnee if you don't see one with the mark. Occasionally these are marked Shawnee and they want 18 for that little planter. When I first got in the business as a dealer, I bought a collection of these and those made up a lot of my first month's sales. We've got one more aisle. This place is a little bigger than I imagined. Pretty mirror. I have a feeling that this one is plastic from the 60s, but it still has a really good look. This is a neat old 19th century storage box. It looks like it actually might have been for your papers and for your writing. Very nicely painted. I really like the design. This needs to be reattached, which could be done. Both of them do. But they're very pretty with the embroidery work on the velvet. And look at the top. Isn't that sweet? Alice, I wonder if Alice painted all that or if someone had that done for her as a gift. It needs some work, but it is very much one of a kind at $169. Another great deal on a music cabinet. Now this one's lost some of its veneer, but it is under $100. And for people who have a lot of paper to keep sorted, the best part is they have divider shelves built in. Be great for somebody doing art, for example. And you could keep your pens and brushes in there. While I'm here, I might grab one of these because I have places to head in Idaho. Well, that was fun. I got a bag of goodies, I got a guide to the next stops, and I am headed out. But Logan is definitely a place I'll hit again. There's several other shops here that I didn't get to see today. If you enjoyed this video, check out this one. Also, click thumbs up to like this video and check the description for information about our Patreon, our memberships. We've got a lot of different levels with different perks and bonus videos and early content. Also, please do check out our website, theantiquenomad.com, for appraisal help. And we'll see you again for more adventures in the antique and vintage community soon. Bye for now.